Good morning and welcome to Where Entrepreneurs Thrive. My name is Russ Nolte. I'm the Regional Director for KW Colorado. On this week's episode, we're speaking with Tulio Peña to discover how he became the entrepreneur we see today and what makes him thrive. Tulio, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Russ. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, let's start off. Just tell us your story, how you found your way into real estate, how you found your way to KW.
Yeah. I've lived in Colorado now for 30 years. Most of my time in Colorado Springs, where I currently reside. I did live in the southern area of Denver in Centennial for 3 years. And I was originally from Florida. I graduated from University of Florida, Gator, and had to do an internship, had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And there's this thing about Tulio that I like to do things that are kind of the opposite often. I do it often in business too, and it seems to work. But I wanted to go somewhere the opposite of Florida. I literally lived on the beach between Clearwater and St. Pete. And when I graduated from college, had to do an internship, had an opportunity to come to Colorado Springs. Nothing related to real estate. It was actually in the healthcare industry, and did that. I came out here and fell in love with it. The beauty of Colorado just took me away. The no humidity, the no roaches, the no mosquitoes, all those things. Fell in love with it, and I couldn't. My friends were like, "You're going to be an Eskimo, man," and they're like, "They don't know our best kept secret of this state."
Right.
How many days
Sun.
of sunlight we have and everything, and I'm kind of a warm-blooded person as well. I don't chill that easily. So I run warm. So anyway, I worked in that healthcare profession for several years, about 4 years, and got to the point where I wanted to buy a home. Called my father. He kind of gave me a little bit of guidance, even a little bit of support, even on a little FHA back then for a small condo in Colorado Springs that cost $75,000. It's now worth $350,000. Little two-bedroom rock rimming. Anyway, but the realtor that I had utilized was a former patient of the clinic I worked at the time. And she literally said to me, "Jump in the car." That was it.
Right.
No pre-call. No, what do you want? She just assumed stuff about me. And, I figured that's how all realtors worked.
Right.
And I ended up getting through the process, but no educational session, no buyer consult. I didn't know the difference between a home inspection and an appraisal, between homeowners insurance and title insurance. I didn't know what a down payment was versus the earnest money. I had no clue, but I just rode with it. And I kept calling my dad every night,
Right.
So went through that, got a home, was one of the first of a bunch of young friends that was a homeowner. And I was proud of that. And became one of my good friends' brother was a realtor. And we started hanging out, and he goes, "Man, you should get your real estate license. What you're doing over there at that rehab clinic is like, I know you're good at it, but you could be financially doing so much better." And he's like, you're more social than I am. And he goes, "With your spirit and your energy, man, you could crush it." So I let that set in, got my license after some time, part-time. This was before internet. This was like 97 to 98. And it was all with the classroom session and everything. There were like 20 people in the class. I think 2 of us got our license.
Right.
How people do that. And they, as you work your way through an in-person class in real estate back then, it became, "I can't wait to do it. Can't wait to do it." And then everybody was like, "I'm just doing this to learn. I'm just doing this to buy my own stuff." And then there were just 2 of us in the end who actually, I was actually glad about that. But, I got my license back then, and a friend of mine told me about a buddy of his that had a gig at a model home that was kind of a smaller builder, but they had a great location. And I met that guy, and he kind of took me under his wing as a mentor at the time. And he said, "Hey, here's the deal. I get to sell the stuff here. Whatever anybody else doesn't want of this product, you can sell them anything." Cool. I got 3 to 5 leads a day out of that.
Wow.
But I had to volunteer and work the model.
Right.
So I did. And I got to learn he was great with his language skills. He really was. And we had time in between people. He really did mentor me. He did a good job of mentoring me and teaching me the process. But that was just a fabulous, kickoff. Everybody has different ways that they find, and working in a model that I didn't have to have a commitment to that builder was awesome, because I would literally get the leads and be able to call them and ask, what did you think of the home that you went through? They go, oh, it's beautiful, but it's a little out of our price point or whatever. Wonderful. I'm able to show you anything in Southern Colorado, not just that builder. Would you like to get going tomorrow? Absolutely. Let's meet at my office for a half hour first and then get going. And that just parlayed one into the next, and did that for a while, lost that gig with that builder, but expanded, started doing the resales, started doing everything. But I was a one-man show for a long time. And it was from 1998 until 2017 that I found Keller Williams.
So were you your own broker during those years?
No, I just always, I always felt at the time, and it was horrible, wrong soundtrack in my mind, that I didn't want to work at a big place. That I wanted to work at a small place where no one was breathing down my neck. I was already very comfortable and confident with lead genning and stuff like that. I had better habits than a lot of people, but it was, I felt that I didn't want people over my shoulder.
Right.
And the reality is, to some degree, that meant I didn't want accountability.
Right.
That's what it was. I didn't want accountability because I thought I knew it all. I thought, I'm really good at getting people. But I was very self-centered approach to doing things. Very little. I was limiting myself from a growth standpoint. Tremendously. Okay. I met a gal named Lindsay Litton that has she's a KW licensed gal that lives in Colorado Springs. She had a team down in San Antonio. Now she's more in the coaching world. But she was a mentor of mine, a friend of mine, started an incredible military referral group. And I was her first member of that group. It grew to a tremendous size to the point that she could sell it. But she kind of mentored me first and then started coaching me. And that's when things really took off. And she convinced me to move to Keller Williams. And so that's where things really changed.
So you met this person, you got involved in her network, and through her coaching and influence, you decided to join the company where she was affiliated, KW.
Yes. Absolutely. And
Got
she
it.
actually bought me the MREA book.
Right.
And I read it. And I listened to it multiple, and I still do. And I still listen to it at least twice a year on Audible.
Right. Absolutely. So tell us about your success as a realtor. I mean, what does your business look like today?
Okay. So I'm just going to give over the last few years growth, and I won't take too long to tell it, but I was one-man show up through 2017. After meeting Lindsay, reading the MREA, I said, you know what? I need help. I have no life. All I'm doing is lead genning, showing houses, writing contracts. I was heavy on the buy side. Right. And I was missing my kids' events, my kids' sports. My wife was fifth fiddle, not second fiddle, Yeah. It wasn't good. And after learning it from Gary Keller, and reading the book, I said, I just need to make a good first hire. And just this little miracle happened that an old friend of mine, Dan Culbertson, called me up. He's on my team today. And he's great with systems, great with spreadsheets, very analytical, but also great with people, which is rare. And he just texted me out of the blue. He worked with me way back in the medical world. And he goes, I just quit. And I texted him back, you start tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he texted me back, if you're serious, I am. And I said, come follow me around for a couple of weeks.
Right.
And by the end of 2 weeks, he signed up for his class. And he's scheduled for 2 months later to take his test, and he aced it. He was my first hire as an admin. And he played the role of TC and everything, but did he give me my life back? And that was the first discussion. Yeah.
So your first hire was admin. And he became a licensed admin eventually.
Yeah, pretty rapidly. So he could actually start showing homes. And one thing that was sad yet beautiful at the same time was I had lost my father, age of 93. Okay, great life, no illnesses, just old. Okay.
Yeah.
And the week prior to that, Dan got his license and went through the ethics, swearing in and everything. Yeah. So the day I had to go back to Florida to take care of my mother and the house and clearing it out and shredding paper and organizing a funeral from a distance and flying people and flying my father's body back to Colorado, everything, Dan was running clients.
Right.
I came back from that whole scenario, held a funeral, and then we had a meeting at the Keller Williams office, and I was able to share with everybody how my business didn't stop.
Yeah.
Because I had Dan there to work with clients. That was a beautiful thing that wouldn't have happened. I may have lost clients. I may have went, negative financially for a month because of all I had to deal with at the time. But adding that one person, and that wasn't a planned thing. I didn't know I was going to lose my father right then. The talk I had with my wife was, and Dan wasn't cheap. He was like a $60,000 hire. Okay. Wow. Yeah. He said, I got to make what I'm making here at least. And I knew, I did the math exactly like what Gary said. I was like, so every week that's $2,500, $5,000 a month. Well, hey man, I do 4 to 6 deals at the time a month right now. I mean, if he just gives me my life back, he's worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
What if he gives me another deal, or 2, or 3, or 4? The guy does 4 to 5 a month right now. All right. It took him a little time, but gave me my life. So my first hire was life changing.
Yeah. And
the fact that I listened to others who've done it before me taught me that, you know what, it makes sense to hire right. And if they are a little more costly, it's probably because they're darn good at what they do. Much better than I could do.
It's the proven talent versus emerging talent.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. That made it very comfortable for us when we got so busy to go, we need another agent. Yeah. We need a TC. He and I didn't even know what a TC was at the time.
Right.
We're like, let's quit you doing this, Dan, and let's get a TC. Okay. And we went through bad TCs. My first TC was my oldest daughter. She was in college. She was awful. But she freed up Dan somewhat. He still had to coach her and help her quite a bit through it. Right. And then finally she said, Dad, you need to fire me. And I was like, why is that? She was like, I'm not bragging. There's too many deals. I can't keep up. I can't handle this. I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. And I was like, well, what do you want to do? She said, I just want to be a kid. I mean, she was in college at the time. She was doing it part-time for us. I go, no worries, honey. You good? You don't feel fired, do you? She said, no, I don't feel fired. I go, okay, I love you. I'm going to hire someone that's been doing it a little longer. Yes, go find someone who loves this stuff, Dad. So we did, and we went through a few over time, but now we have an outstanding TC. The team then just was very methodical. I'm not the type that just goes, person wants to join my team. Yes, yes, yes. It was like one a year, so one every 9 months. Who do we need in what roles? Right. And then marketing assistant, part-time, social media person, part-time, a military spouse that can help us with client appreciation events, part-time, that type of stuff. There's little ads here and there. Now we're at a point where, including me, there's 7 agents on the team, 3 support staff. And we have MREA'd at 2021, 2022. We're on track for 2023. It's harder.
So for those who don't know what you mean, you said MREA'd 21, 22, and on track for 23. What do you mean by that?
Gross commission income is at or greater than $1 million in essentially commissions. That is gross. There's fees and everything, but for the most part, it means you're doing a lot of things right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's an example of success, bringing in a 7-figure gross or better. So
yeah, and you realize that at that point you're really running a business.
Yeah,
it's no longer like some people, and I never did, treated what we do in real estate as a hobby job. But there are people who want to do real estate part-time, and that's fine. I get that. That's the entry for a lot of people. And it's a must for some people. It kind of was for me at the time as well. But, we're at this point now where I have a bookkeeper part-time. I share her with other realtors, Yeah. We're doing stuff that I look at, I go, gosh, even my kids that are older now, I have teenagers and college kids, you really run a business. Yeah, I do.
Right. I like what you're saying about part-time, because I do think one of the challenges KW agents face when they look at the organizational model is they see all those, org chart circles, and they think all, full-time, 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 and they think it's going to require full-time salary and benefits. And for most, you can start part-time and ease your way into it. You don't have to go full-time every time.
And then you start to realize that what people, and this is from the one thing which is a book written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, that about what people really need to be doing. And you start to realize what you can outsource. What can a VA, a virtual assistant, do? Who can you hire that's, a cyberbacker, a person in the Philippines who's just really good with these 3 tasks?
Yeah.
And it can be just taking the data. Our team, we lead gen 3 hours every day, every agent, and everybody completes a tracker. And on that tracker, it's who did you call? Where did the lead come from? What number call was it? Was it the first, the second, the third, the fourth, through the 8th, or whatever? What happened on the call? Okay. And my admin has always been the one to crunch all the numbers. This formula is built in, but to demonstrate to the agent as well as to myself their conversion rates.
Yeah.
Therefore, we can look at how we can help them. Where do they need improvement? Okay. But does my admin, that's now my ops manager, really need to be doing that task?
Right.
That's a number crunching thing.
Yeah.
And and that's what I had to sit down with her and say, okay, let's look at all the stuff you do that's stressing you out. And what can we hand to someone over in the Philippines or wherever that loves numbers?
Yeah.
That's going to works for considerably less than most Americans, and that's just one task though, that then we can leverage someone who loves what they're doing, wants the work, and then I can take someone who's a brilliant mind at ops and give her more time to focus on ops.
Exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. I was in a meeting somewhat recently, and one of the executives at KW said, when tasks are when things that need to get done are not complex and not emotional, you can go very digital with it. And I think about that in terms of like when I'm trying to figure out what I have 5 people in the Philippines that work with me. And when I'm trying to think about like what to assign them, if it's low emotional and low, what was the other word I said? Low emotion and low complexity. It's the perfect thing to either find a software solution for or to outsource overseas. And it's amazing. My cyberbacker, Nikki's been with me for almost 5 years. And the amount of time she saves me is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's completely changed my world.
And to take you back, Russ, to what you were talking about, the organizational chart. And even for those people who are newer at listening or reading the MREA book, it can be overwhelming. It can be frightening. When I went through it, was at the point I was like, I don't need to do all of it. If I get some good ideas from this, great.
Right.
But that's the importance of, I think, every agent listening and reading the book at least once a year and listening to it twice a year in parts. You could be driving to show a house and listen to 20 minutes of it.
Right.
And then come back and listen to 20 minutes of it. And then you go, now it's time to do the next hire or to add the next system. Yeah. Ready. I'm actually past ready for that. I should have done that 6 months ago.
Right.
And then you share that with your coach or whoever holds you accountable. And you set a timeline to achieving it. Absolutely. And then we move forward. And that's how, because when that book was originally written too, the numbers were different as well. I mean, it's like 220 houses or something to breach MREA based on national averages. And we're in Colorado. I mean, we're like 500 and up on most of our homes. Yeah. So yes, it's around 100 houses or so for us to achieve that. In some markets, it's different. There's in Pueblo, it's like 150 to 180, depending on your price point. So it's different everywhere. But I was like, well, this is very doable now. Yeah. And it's almost always a person or a system. Exactly. To get you there. And once you start embracing each one of them, it becomes easier to bring on the next one. Yeah.
I love that. Tulio, last fall, KW announced that our purpose is to be a place where entrepreneurs thrive. In fact, that's what we decided to name this video podcast. What are your thoughts around KW as the real estate company where entrepreneurs thrive?
I love it. And, I agree with it 100%. I think a big part of my agreeing with it, and this didn't come immediately from me. When I moved to KW, I took a room at the office. I knocked on my door every day. Hey, are you going to come to this? Are you going to come to this? Are you going to take part in this? And I'm like, I just want to do deals.
Right.
I'm on the phone. I'm lead genning. Well, there's a meeting right now. Can you present in this? I'm like, and it was the fire hose.
Mhm.
And I didn't embrace it immediately. And I took it step by step.
Sure.
Okay. I looked at the list, I looked at the calendar. I got with some of the management and said, okay, for me, based on where I am in my career, what of this do you think would be helpful to me?
Right.
And then I started getting involved. And then I started teaching classes as
Mhm.
well. But the beauty about where entrepreneurs thrive within is that leaders who are successful within KW are very helpful to others.
Mhm.
Any place I've worked before, I would have never approached someone who was killing it and went to them and said, could you help
Yeah.
me? Could you teach me? How do you do that? In my mind, I was thinking, why would they share that with me?
Right.
That's their recipe book. That's their secret book of wizard spells, that they can't share with anybody else. That was
Yeah.
Snape's book, and that's completely the opposite at KW.
Yeah.
And it's not, and it's within our offices, and it goes further. I'm part of James Shaw's pivot shift community. It's
Yeah.
110,000 agents in that group. And I'm a very active part of it. I
Yeah.
share best management practices at least once a week, things I learned and things that I learned the hard way that didn't work.
Mhm.
And, it's a beautiful mastermind group of amazing agents that are predominantly KW agents. There are some that, come and they join us, but that share.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, marketing tips, things that worked, an email that worked, a text that worked, that got you 1, 2, 3, 4 listings from it, and things that didn't work. And why didn't it work? And just it's a community. And boy, the true masterminding that I have seen take place within this company at the office level, the
Mhm.
regional level, you and I, and
Yeah.
people that we've met together. And then on a national level, and in all honesty, that includes international sharing and conference sharing and break. It's the truth. This is truly an entity that believes that there's no shortage of success and that we could share our best management practices and others can learn from them. And that's
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's a cultural phenomenon, really. I mean, I remember going to my first family reunion in 2010. I had joined the company 3 days earlier, and I called my wife in the hallway and I said, "You're not going to believe this place. Like, everyone shares what they do." And the founder of the company is on stage and he's interviewing people and they're telling us all their secrets. Like, I was blown away.
I feel the same way.
And it trickles down into regions, it trickles down into market centers. Tell us about your online community that you started.
So about 2 years ago, I was getting coached by Lindsay, and we were looking at the smaller team I had at the moment and just looking at conversion rates. And, obviously you compare each person, and she was like, well, no one's where you are, Julie. I'm like, well, I've been doing this a while. She was like, but you're their leader.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do? Like any good coach, she led with questions. What are you going to do? What can you do? And there were several options, but I had been taking part in other leaders in KW and other time zones, scripts and dialogues, conversations, role play groups that are on different platforms, Facebook, Zoom, Clubhouse. Some of them are audio only, but they're interactive. But when I listened to those, I would listen to them on replay due to the time zone. And I just started taking notes. I have notes in my phone. I have over 2,000 notes anything I think of, I write down.
Right.
And I started writing down scripts and dialogues, just documenting them and then reading them and practicing them and then practicing them with clients. And then I said to Lindsay, my coach, I could do this with the team and just start a practice group, a conversations and dialogues practice group. This was in COVID. So we did it by Zoom. And then we got to know each other so well that we all knew what each other were going to say.
Right.
So I said, let's open it up. We opened it up to my office. Then we opened it up to all the KW offices in the southern part of Colorado. And then we just said, well, let's just open it up. And we went live on Facebook with it. And we went from like 6 people to now 1,500.
Wow.
And yeah, and it's just every day, another 5 asked to join. And we do scrutinize. We don't let, title people and lenders and other people join. It's realtor only.
Yeah.
And you have to answer some questions to join.
Sure.
It's Zoom is the way to go, in my opinion, because you get to really practice. Yeah. I lead the majority of the sessions. I do have 4 other leaders that have demonstrated their capabilities with their language skills. They're in Texas. There's 2 from Texas, 1 from Florida, and who's the 3rd one from? Lost my thought at the moment. Doesn't matter. It's myself and 4 others. And I like that because there's different personality types in leadership, man. Yeah. It's not always Tulio and what would Tulio do. That Absolutely. Gives me an opportunity to play too.
Sure.
So I get to take part. So we named it Word Wizards. And,
Word Wizards?
Word Wizards. People like to send me wands. These are gifts I get from people. Yes, I get wands. I have a collection of wands.
Funny.
And it's kind of funny. And I dress up sometimes as the wizard and stuff around Halloween and things like that.
That's hilarious.
I have a number of wizard costumes. Anyway, we go.
Julio, we just got 30 seconds left here.
Okay.
If somebody wants to find that, they go to Facebook, and what do they search for?
Word Wizards, real estate conversations, dialogues, and role play. And then you can ask to join, and then we'll then give you the info for Zoom as well.
I love it. Hey, well, thank you so much for being on our podcast today. I appreciate you generously sharing your thoughts and ideas, and look forward to seeing you soon, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Russ.